you can't control when you get your break, right? Like I couldn't control, I didn't make the NBA, right? It took me 20 years to make the NBA. I could not control when I got my break. But what I could control is my path along the way and how I treated people, the way I shared the game, the way I studied the game, the way I love my players, the way I pour into my players, the investment I try to make in myself, and the investment I made in networking to put myself in position to get a break.
Hey, welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. Today, you're going to get an opportunity to listen to a really dear friend of ours in basketball, Ryan Pannone, the head coach of Arkansas State, who has had an incredible journey that you're going to find out during this incredible talk that we're going to have. He's going to share basically his entire basketball career from a humble beginning to doing humble work to get to where he is now as a head coach at the D1 level at Arkansas State, to being Nate Oates' assistant at the University of Alabama, going to the Final Four, to being an assistant coach with the New Orleans Pelicans, to being a G League head coach, taking it all the way back in reverse to being a high school coach at 18 years of age. So I think you're going to find that Ryan Pannone is one of the most honest people in our business. He's one of the best teachers in our business. He's a savant at player development. And basically, I think he's one of the best offensive minds in all of basketball. So I think this is going to be for anyone that loves this game, that really wants to figure out where you're going in your career. Listen, this is a master class in how to grow as a coach. So after a quick word from our sponsors, we're going to come back and visit with the great Ryan Pannone. Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Hey, welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. Today, a dear friend for over 20 years, someone that when we lived in Florida, we would always share and learn basketball. But the thing that separates Ryan Pannone from others, to me, is his resilience and how he never said no to what my friend Kevin Eastman used to say, to an opportunity in basketball. But we're going to talk a lot about that today, and then his quick and sudden rise from just a mere assistant high school coach to a head coach of a major university. Ryan, welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, Coach.
You know, when you first started out, as at Oldmar Christian and down in Clearwater, Florida, I knew about your passion and everything. But I think the biggest thing that I kept seeing in you was that you love the game so much, and you would go to all stakes to keep learning. Where did that come from?
I wasn't a very good player, and I didn't think I really had a chance to become a great player. And I think coaches are like players. There's some coaches that are just incredibly gifted and talented, and they just have it. I wasn't one of those guys. Yeah, I didn't just have it as a coach. And what I would always try to tell my players, like if a player is more talented than you and they work harder than you, how can you ever have a chance to catch them or outcompete them? But if someone's more talented than you and you can find a way to outwork them, then you have a chance to at least be close or maybe catch up or possibly surpass. And for me, I really wanted to be a good coach. I did not think I was very talented. I was passionate. I loved the game and I wanted to learn. And I chased learning, knowledge, and at all costs. Like I was willing to go anywhere and learn from anyone. And I still try to pursue that as much as I can and just study and learn the game. I do it a little bit different than what I did when I was a younger high school coach, but I want to have a chance to be great at what I do. And I'm far away from it.
When you are what I call the growth mindset type of guy as opposed to the fixed mindset. When you go out and try to learn from others, do you ever go out there and say, I know more? Or do you just say, what little nugget can I pick up from someone to put into my game, my game to help me coach better? Because now you're very advanced from when you first started. Now, as your path has gone and you've been all over the world and you've worked at the highest levels in NBA, G League, University of Alabama, now Arkansas State, it's like going from being a high school student to a college student to getting your PhD. Now you're on your PhD path, I would say, because you haven't reached it in your mind. You're still learning. You're still going. How do you pursue learning now?
I mean, it's the same way. I mean, what you realize, right, is like as you pursue basketball all over the world, everyone knows something you don't, right? And it's like, I try to explain to people all the time. I'm very fortunate to be the head coach at Arkansas State. I got some breaks along the way. The reality is, right, like Nate Oates hired me to be his assistant. His assistants typically go to be head coaches. We had a lot of success. Nate Oates pushes as hard or harder. To me, he reminds me so much of like Billy Donovan and Rick Pitino, where like he pushes for his assistants to become head coaches. So I got lucky to work for someone that helped me push my career to where it is. But I go to high school practices and even now, like as I go out and recruiting, and there's always something to take away. Maybe it's a drill, maybe it's a phrase. And, David Thorpe was always big on this, and he's still the best player development guy I've seen, right? And just like using words that paint a picture to unlock the mind of the player. And I'll hear different coaches use different, they just phrase it a little bit different. I'm like, ooh, that painted a great picture in my mind. I'm going to steal that. And so I think the openness of like, you can learn from anyone. The reality is, right, like there are high school coaches out there. I mean, even in Jonesboro, there's a coach here named Wes Swift that's, won so many state titles. This guy's won way more than me. And I'm trying to get over to his practice next week, to evaluate the players, but to learn from him. Like, what does he do so well to win? And then I try to study coaches that are in underfunded situations, under budget situations that just win, right? Because it's like, how do they win with less resources than everyone else? Like, what is their magic? And I try to steal from everyone.
You also, like most of us, study coaches in other sports too, because leaders are leaders and coaching is coaching, right?
Yeah. One of the unique things about me and where I'm a total psychopath is I
No,
don't understand any
you're
other
an
sports.
educator. You're not a psychopath. Let's get that
I
clear.
in the pursuit of trying to become a great basketball coach, like I took it to extremes. I was like, all right, while this guy's watching football, I'm going to study basketball. While they're watching baseball, while they go out, while they go golf, I'm going to study basketball. And so my mentality has always been anytime, like I don't watch any other sports, I don't understand them because my mentality had always been like, hey, while they're watching the Super Bowl, I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to get that edge on you. I'm going to outcompete you. And this is what I have to do to try to become good at my job. Now, I love studying people that are great. And so I watched a Pep Guardiola documentary that they had on Amazon. I know nothing about soccer. I don't understand anything, but the way that he communicates to his players, his passion, the way that he approaches the day, I took tons from it. Now I don't understand the strategy and anything going with it, so I try to study other coaches and how they approach their day. How do they communicate? How do they organize film? Like I know nothing about football, but I'm obsessed with the approach that football has. And like, how do they approach the day? How do they approach watching film? How do they break it up into quarterbacks and receivers and the way that they break down the individual film within the team collective? That stuff I love. But one of the ways I tried to outwork everyone was like, while you were watching the Super Bowl, I'm going to study the Euro League or Second Division Germany or something crazy.
So you were, when you were at Alabama for 2 years, you had an opportunity to, one of the people that I've known for, oh gosh, almost 40 years, Nick Saban, and study him. And and he to me is one of the great coaching leaders of all time. What have you picked up from Coach Saban?
Military discipline, right? Like you have discipline and you have detail, right? And so it's like, if you have discipline with no detail, you can't reach success. And if you're detailed but you're not disciplined, you cannot have success. Good coaches have one or the other. Some coaches are disciplined with no detail. They show up on time, they're consistent, but they don't have the detail within the way that they coach. And some coaches are detailed, but they have no discipline in what they do. He's both. He's got detail, discipline. He's an everyday guy. I mean, it's interesting. Like, they talk about, like, he leaves his house every day at the same time. He eats the same stuff every day. His routine is the same every day. He's like a robot, but it's like the way that he coaches is consistent. The way that he wins is consistent. The way that he lives his life is consistent. I don't think any player has ever played for him and said he doesn't live exactly what he preaches. And then on top of that, that guy's like a living quote. I mean, everything, yeah, everything he says is a quote. It's incredible.
No, and that's the thing I just love still now. The thing now with him not being the coach of Alabama is he's sharing like nothing
Oh,
else now, and it's so wonderful to hear, him talk. I mean, you're right. Anytime he talks, I'm getting an advanced degree in it. So when you work down there with Nate Oates, who I've known for years from our Michigan backgrounds and stuff, and when he was at Buffalo, I just really enjoyed Nate. Uh, Tell me what make Nate Oates, the high school coach from Romulus, Michigan, right outside the damn Detroit airport, a math teacher. What makes him so special?
it's a probability that Nate Oates will win, right? It's not a possibility. You could drop him anywhere, any league. Lowest budget, he will outperform expectations because he hunts every marginal gain. He has zero ego about him. Like, Nate Oates' crave to become a great coach is so high. Like, he studies the game. So every year he's going to two different NBA training camps. Every year he's watching clinics, he's studying. He sends me texts now. He's like, "Hey, where's my film breakdown?" Like, like he wants to be a great coach. He's got no ego about it, right? So like, he in our coaches meetings, the GAs are in our meetings. Anyone can give an idea. He takes the best idea, regardless of who it's from, and he credits that person. He never takes credits for another person's idea. He hires people that are great at their job. His only two rules when he goes to hire someone is this: are they a good person? Are they great at what they do? He doesn't care if they know him at all. It has zero. I mean, he hires people every single year that he's never met, ever. And he just wants the person that's best for the job. He hires them to do the job, and he listens to them. And he's amazing at that. Now, the other thing that makes Nate Oates great is he knows his exact coaching philosophy. I mean, I think that there's a lot of coaches out there that know someone else's philosophy. And when it comes down to the nut cutting time, do they really believe in what they say? And I'll give a perfect example. Like, this is one of my favorite Nate Oates moments because he's pre-mortem. He knows exactly how he's willing to lose a game. They lost to San Diego State in the Sweet 16. They went 3 of 27 from the three-point line. He got crucified. See, you can't win playing this way. You can't win not taking mid-range shots. It won't work. The next year, on the path to the Sweet 16. We're playing Carolina. We are 3 of 15 at halftime. He's getting, as you know, at half, crucified. See, it doesn't work. We're losing the game. Nate Oates doubles down. He walked in that locker room. We got some great analytical information from Michael Schwimmer, who does all of our analytics. He's big time. And he says, hey, we are winning this game by 11 expected points. We're up 11 by expected points. The shots we're taking are great. I'm going to make this very clear for everyone in this room. If you turn down an open three, you are not playing the rest of the game. You are not playing. Like, we are coming out. We're taking the same shots. You're shooting great shots. You guys have put in hours of work for this moment. You trust your work. When you are open, you shoot it, and you shoot it with confidence. And if you won't, you are not playing. And not only did he double down, he got everyone to believe that they're great. We went out there. I think we went 8 of 15 in the second half, won the game. And in that moment on the biggest stage, I think most coaches would have reverted, be like, hey, we got to start attacking the basket. We got to do this. They would have gone against our entire philosophy that they've worked on all year long. Nate Oates does not break. And in the moment, his ability to consume information and make an informed decision is unbelievable. And then on top of that, great human being.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. When let's talk about a little bit of your path, because our podcasts go to coaches all over the world, but a lot of young coaches really want to learn from the guests that we have, the great coaches that we have. And a lot of the young coaches want to microwave their career. They want to skip steps. You, my friend, didn't skip any damn steps. That's for sure. And talk about the jobs you took. You made extravagant money in some of your jobs, but talk about what you learned and what your real value and payback was, not the financial part.
But, I got very fortunate that it's all worked out for me. And like every young coach, I also wanted to skip steps. I wanted to microwave my career. And, I started out as a high school coach at 18. And I was an assistant at the high school I played at. At 20, I became the head coach. And at 24, I got married. And in those first years as a high school coach, I didn't get paid $1. I made all my money from working out players on the side, from working with David Thorpe. But for my actual coaching job, I got paid $0. I got married. And I had to begin to think, it's like, all right, how am I going to make a living? And the reality is, right, like I was too stupid to teach your kids in class at the actual high school. I'm not going to get certified. And I didn't even graduate college. I didn't graduate college till I was 26. And my whole dream was to be a combination of Bob Hurley and David Thorpe. I loved coaching high school. I thought when you look at people that have had the biggest impact on human beings, it comes down to high school coaches and youth coaches. Like Bob Hurley's impact on humans and changing their lives is greater than mine will ever be. And then David Thorpe was working on NBA players, which was pretty cool. So it was like, all right, I'd love to just be a high school coach and work out NBA players. And it got to the point where I had to figure out how to make a living. So what people see is the end of my career, which has been G League head coach, NBA assistant, Alabama assistant, head coach at Arkansas State. But the beginning, I left there. I went to be an assistant coach at Wallace State Community College in Hanceville, Alabama. Now at 26, I made $600 a month, no housing. That's all. My wife, no housing. My wife had to keep teaching at the high school I coached at to support me. Then she came up and she loved House Hunters International. She wanted to coach overseas. I got lucky. I got a job in China. And for people that are trying to build their career in terms of networking, like I've always been proactive. What I did is I went on social media at the time. It was like LinkedIn, MySpace, Facebook was just starting. I found every American coach that was coaching overseas on Eurobasket, tried to find them and shoot them a message. One coach responded named Joe Welton. He said, hey, I just took a job in China, and let me get back to you. That was in May. In August, he hit me back. He offered me a job for $4,000 a month. So we moved to China.
That was you. That's you, Joe Welton?
That is UConn Joe Welton.
I coached
And
against him at UConn when I was at Fairfield.
oh
Great player.
man,
Great
that
player.
he
Go
took a
ahead.
chance on me. And so
He's awesome.
this is how all this, when people are trying to build their career, I'm going to link how I got to where I am through every job. So I started working for David Thorpe for no money. I mean, I stalked him. I was calling his house repeatedly, wouldn't return my phone call. Finally, he did. And I told him, say, hey, coach, I got a high school gym. I'm available 24 hours a day. I'll do whatever it takes. Let me rebound for you. I'll be your intern. Anything you need, I'll get you coffee. I'll wash the clothes. I'll do whatever. I did that for years. I worked with them from 20 to 33. In the end, I started getting paid money, but I started out working for nothing in peanuts. Then he took over the pro development at IMG when Joe Abunassar left. So what I didn't know at the time was, as I'm reaching out to all these coaches, Joe Welton came and watched the NBA workouts down at IMG, which I did not know. He'd seen it before. And so he ended up looking for an assistant coach that was player development minded. Because I took that job for free working for David Thorpe, he got a chance to be down at IMG, watch some of the workouts. He didn't know me personally, but apparently we'd met. He offered me the job. I went to China. When I was in China, as you know, like the food there for a foreign coach isn't outstanding. Any foreign coach that was coming in town, I shot them a message and I said, hey, there's a pretty good Italian place. Let me pick you up in a taxi. Let's go out and eat. One of those coaches was an American named Simon Cody. Okay, so we went out. Didn't know him before. Got a chance to build a relationship with him. And then the next year after China, Coach Thorpe had 6 NBA players he was working with full time. Kevin Martin, Ed Davis, Nick Calaitis, Gal Meckel, Omri Caspi, and Corey Brewer. And so he needed help, so I worked with him full-time throughout the year. First time I'd ever not been a part of a team. Like, I thought this was going to be the dream. I'm flying, work with NBA guys. And it was an awesome job, but I missed being a part of a team. Just wasn't the same. All the stuff you think that you're not going to miss, the hotels, the bus rides, the flat tire on the side of the road, you miss. And at the same time, I started to go to NBA Summer League, and at first, nobody would talk to me, right? Because I wasn't important enough to talk to. What I saw was that every time someone would leave the Summer League arena, they were taking taxis back then. And so I thought to myself, everyone wants to save $20. And so I'd gone, no one talked to me. I came back, my wife was like, hey, good luck, you tried, pat me on the back, like, let's not do that again. You wasted a bunch of money. I was like, yeah, next year I'm going to rent a car. She's like, you're going to spend more money? I said, yeah. People need a ride. So I went back that year when I was working with Coach Thorpe. I rented a car. Anyone that was leaving the arena, I would just wait outside, be like, oh, where are you headed? Oh, I'm going the same way. I don't watch any games. I sat in between. I was like, do you need a ride? Everyone wanted to save $20. So I was a taxi. I was driving people around. One of those people was Bill Peterson. Bill Peterson was on his way to interview for the Orlando Magic G League head coaching job. So I had to stop at CVS so he could print out his interview, took him to his interview, waited for him, took him back, and he ended up getting the job. And so he offered me a job like a month later, said, hey, I've got kind of like an intern assistant spot. Your title will be assistant coach, but you got to, I'm 29. You got to wash the jerseys. You've got to clean the locker room. I was literally cleaning the toilets in the coaching, like in the arena in the coaching staff's locker room, because the maintenance people wouldn't clean it. So I did the laundry. I folded the laundry. I've worked with 30 NBA players at this time. I've been a successful high school coach. I've coached overseas. I vacuumed the locker room. We'd come back at 3 a.m. I'd sleep in the laundry room washing the jerseys. Meanwhile, my wife, I got paid $600 a month and no housing. And so another intern and I lived together in an apartment that was condemned 2 years later. We couldn't afford the heat. We didn't have furniture. Like, all we had was like a bed. I didn't even have a box spring. We didn't have a couch in it. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. I was buying bread and toast in the oven, making, which, by the way, is actually fantastic. You get a nice sub roll, some peanut butter, banana, and heat it up in the oven. Phenomenal. Actually, I had it yesterday. So, but I couldn't afford anything. So my wife moved to Hansville, Alabama to teach at the junior college I used to coach at. Okay, so I'm 29 years old. I'm married. I'm fortunate my wife has bet on my career. I'm making no money and I'm doing intern work. I mean, I was literally cleaning poop off toilets at times, okay, at 29. But my resume said assistant coach with the Erie Bayhawks. That's what it said. No one knew how much money I made. No one knew that I was the guy that was washing the jerseys and vacuuming along with another coach named Tanner Massey. No one knew that. My resume said assistant coach. I've always negotiated title over money. I don't care about the money because my resume doesn't say my salary. I wanted to build that resume up. The coach that I met in China named Simon Cody takes a second division head coaching job in Germany. My wife always wanted to live in Europe. I leave the D League at the time to go to second division Germany for $900 a month plus housing, and I could share a car with the head coach, and I got one meal a day at a restaurant. So now I've made it, right? Like I got an apartment, I got $900 a month. My wife started getting her doctorate so she could teach online to be able to move anywhere. We had a great year in Germany. And so this is so big for coaches that are trying to like figure out how to network. Well, in Europe after the games, right, like the teams would come in second division Germany and they would order meals, but they would order like the same thing for every player. So I started reaching out to the head coaches of every team coming in town. And I said, hey, listen, here's one of our sponsor restaurants. They're going to give you a deal. Here's the menu. You give me the individual order for each player. I'm going to place the order for you. After the game, I'm going to go pick it up. I'm going to bring it to the arena. So you got good hot food on your way home. So I did that all year long for the teams. And after the year, I'm going to get back to how that got me a job 2 years later. After the season, Hapoel Jerusalem was looking for a player development minded assistant coach. The GM saw the workouts with Omri Caspi and Gal Meckel. Omri Caspi and Gal Meckel, I worked. These guys wanted to shoot 10 o'clock at night. I'd be at dinner with my wife. They'd hit me up. I'd get up and leave. Middle of dinner, hey, I got to go shoot with these guys. Omri Caspi and Gal Meckel vouched for me to the GM. The GM had seen the workouts. They signed a player named Amari Stoudemire. They wanted an American coach to go down and work with Amari Stoudemire a couple weeks before the season started. In Israel, they paid me $2,000 a month, plus not a great apartment and a car that had a bunch of dents on it. It was not a great situation. And all I told the GM told me is like, hey, I can't afford to hire you. And I said, listen, you know how much it costs to live there. I'll break even. Pay me the minimum amount to where like I can just survive and I will make it work. I get hired. The head coach is Simone Piangiani, went to a couple EuroLeague Final Fours. Amari Stoudemire is on staff. We have a great year. We go to the Euro Cup Final Four. I get to coach Amari Stoudemire. I'm an assistant coach in the Euro Cup. And then at the end of the season, I get offered a head coaching job in Slovakia. And two people played a big part of that. They offered the job to an American coach named Chris Insminger that was in second division Germany that I used to collect the food orders for and bring it to his team. And my agent, Philip Parun, who is very involved in Slovakia. So they offered him the job, the Chris Insminger. He turned it down and recommended me. So now I take the job in Slovakia. We have a great year. I end up going back to Jerusalem. They pay me more money to come back. Now I'm making $4,000 a month. And in Slovakia, they paid me $2,000 a month, but they didn't pay me. They owed me 5 months' salary. So, I've got my first kid at 33. I'm married. I'm living in Slovakia, making $20,000 plus housing, but they really only kind of paid me 10 till the end. And I was owed 4 months' salary at one point throughout the season. I ended up being owed 5 months' salary, but we were winning. I was going to find a way to survive. It didn't matter. I was going to make it work. I go back to Jerusalem, coach Amari Stoudemire again. David Griffin takes over the Pelicans. David Thorpe, who I worked for free, starting out my career, and would do anything for the guy, anything he ever wanted, at drop whatever I was doing, is working at ESPN with David Griffin. Amari Stoudemire was with David Griffin in Phoenix. And Trajan Langdon gets named the GM of the Pelicans. So when David Griffin got the job, their international scout is Yaron Arbel, who is Israeli, who I met through Simon Cody in Germany. And well, I met in China, so it's all of the links that it takes to get where I'm going to get. So Yaron recommends me for the head coaching job of the G League team. Amari Stoudemire calls David Griffin. And this is what young coaches got to understand. Somehow, I do not know how, Trajan Langdon came in with my name. Multiple people recommended me to Trajan Langdon. And I don't know how, I don't know who, but it comes back to this. I think most coaches, they only talk to people that they think can help their career. Over the course of my career, I've tried to be very kind to any person I've ever met. I try to help any person I ever can. I try to share the game and ask for nothing in return. I've never asked for money. If people can afford to pay me something, cool. If you can't, don't. Like, I'm going to find a way to make it work. I've never taken a job based on money. I've only taken a job based off opportunity. How can I build the resume of my career? How do I treat people well? Everywhere I go, I try to reach out to people and be proactive. And I share the game. I study like crazy. And everything I study for me, I try to put online for other people to learn and not ask for any money for it, because I don't care about the money. I just want to be a share of the game the way that you are, Coach, the way that Coach Shy it is, the way that the great people are that share the game, because unfortunately, not a lot of people are willing to share. Well, someone recommended me to Trajan that if they would have thought I was a jerk, that they would have thought I didn't work hard, that I wasn't smart, that I wasn't a kind person, would have never recommended me to Trajan. I wouldn't get the job. Pelicans hired me. And it was a long road of being broke and trying to figure it out that led me to the G League job. Fortunately, we had success. And I got recommended to speak at Nate Oates' clinic for high school coaches that he does. And that came down to this. One of the people I got to drive around with the car at Summer League was Fred Hoiberg. And so I got to drive around Fred Hoiberg. It was super cool. And I used to send out all these plays. And I went through and I built an email database of a bunch of people. Fred Hoiberg used to get them and open it up. And people like Tommy Shepard would like sneak me into the NBA Combine. And I got to meet these cool people. And I'd be broke, and I found a way to go to the Final Four, Summer League, Combine, just to meet people and sit Starbucks and wait for them to come out and figure out how to approach them. One of Fred Hoiberg's assistant coaches was Charlie Henry. Charlie Henry went to Alabama with Nate Oates because he was Nate Oates' assistant when he was at Romulus. He recommended me to come speak at his clinic. Charlie and I connected. And I stayed in touch with Coach Oates for 2 years. I'm very lucky. Willie Green promotes me to be on the NBA staff. Charlie leaves. He recommends me to Oates. I had a good relationship with Oates. And Nate Oates hired me to be his assistant coach. And it's everything linked together. But the willingness I think that young coaches got to have is bet on yourself. Communicate with everyone that you can. Like, if you think this guy can't help you, and you don't talk to him, it's going to come back to bite you, because the amount of managers, when I was a successful high school coaches and GAs that were at Florida State and Florida, that I was a successful high school coach, they're just managers, are now NBA GMs and NBA head coaches. Like, you don't know where anyone's going to end up. How you treat someone is how you treat everyone. Bet on yourself. Don't worry about money. Young people all the time, I can't afford to do it. You can't afford not to do it. Figure it out. Now.
Love that. I love that. That's a master class right there. It really is. That's phenomenal. David Thorpe, known him for years. I love the way you talk about him. He is what I call a master in player development, and as a human being, first of all, but talk about what made player development's the most overused word in college basketball when they recruit. Oh, we have a great player development program. Then you go in and you're watching, they have all 12 players practicing together. There's no player development, But tell me what made David Thorpe, and you'd learn from him, what made him so special in player development?
Number one, his ability to get players to believe. I mean, Gal Meckel, I think if anyone ever saw him at Wichita State, saw him play in Europe, no one would have ever thought that guy would be on an NBA roster. David Thorpe saw him and said, yeah, you could play in the NBA. Here's your plan. Here's your path. His ability to breathe belief into players that they can be great. The amount of players that he's worked with that were undrafted or second-round draft picks that made the NBA, guys that came to him after having, like, they're on their way out of the NBA, that he revived their career. He's unbelievable at getting them to believe that they can be great. And I think that's a big part of it, right? Like, confidence is a hell of a drug. And then his attention to detail, right? Like, most player development guys, to me, in player development, you have sketch artists, okay? You have con artists, and you have artists, okay? A con artist, someone that's going to sell you a bunch of crap, right? Like, it sounds good, and like they could sell it. When you get on the floor, they're not making you any better, but like they sold you the con, they got you to pay the money. There's no results. A sketch artist, right? Like, they're just going to sketch it. It's black and white. It's real quick. Boom, 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 boom. There's no attention to detail. There's no color. David Thorpe is an artist. He's going to brush each stroke gently. He's got a plan for each color of paint. And when he's going through it, sometimes you're questioning. You're like, I don't know about that. And then when you take a step back and you look at the big painting, you're like, whew, this guy's a pure artist. His attention to detail is incredible. And even, I mean, I worked with him for 13 years, and we'd be in the summer, and there'd be times, right? Like, most times it's such a humbling experience, because when you're with someone for so long, like, you start to think, I can do what he does. I've been with him for, I got this. And every summer I'd step in the gym and he'd be working with a player and he'd see something that I've been watching for hours and I don't recognize it at all. And he'd say it. And then it's so obvious to me, I couldn't unsee it. Like, it's so obvious. His eye for detail is incredible. Like, he's a beautiful mind. And then he gets to take the confidence, the belief, and then he has a clear plan of, like, this is how you're going to make it. Like, this is what you got to do. He doesn't take any credit. Like, you don't hear his players talk about him at press conferences. He's not a big social media presence. Most people got no idea who this guy is. Like, all he does is try to take the system that you're playing in and get you to be great in that system. He's not trying to add a bunch of stuff to your bag and get you to do stuff that you shouldn't be doing.
Right. You have the, I'm going to say, honor of working with his son now, right?
His son is on our staff, and
that's so cool. I think that's great.
Very fortunate.
Yeah. It's always hard to compare siblings to their parents. What's he like?
So it's interesting. We got him in as a GA at Alabama, and in all fairness, like Coach Thorpe has always said, he's like, look, if he sucks, don't hire him. It's like, I think he'll be good. He crushed it. It was interesting because, like, at Alabama, he was paired up with the other assistants because I didn't want there to be biasness because of his dad.
Sure.
And every other assistant raves about him. And he was always willing to stay in late, do whatever was needed, pick whoever up from the airport. And he earned his spot on this staff here. And he's the same way. Incredible worker, knows when to talk, which is a big skill for young coaches. Like, I was terrible at that. I did not know when to talk and when to shut up. Until David Thorpe taught me, like, hey, just shut up, And so he knows when to talk, when not to talk. His ability to communicate with players, because he played at Florida State as a walk-on. And his eye, like, he's been around his father. He's going to be a really good coach.
That's awesome. That is so good to hear. So years ago, due to our relationship, and, I loved your path. I loved your humility and everything, but I knew your knowledge. And we started to use you when we could at coaching you events. And you quickly developed into one of the best clinicians, not just in the country. We're just the best basketball country maybe in the world. In the minds of American coaches, we are the best, like everything else. But you and I have respect for so much outside of the U.S. But You quickly developed into one of the best clinicians and one that everyone wanted to hear because of your amazing way to communicate, teach, and I think also teach the latest trends in a way that people understood them. And I know your belief in clinics is you love to teach, but you love to share. Talk about coaches' obligation to when they get a position, that's important to share because someone shared with you. Like, UB Brown was my high school coach, maybe the greatest clinician of all time and teacher. And I always learned from that. And I never thought I'd be in a position to even have a clinic, let alone all over the country and world. But talk about that for you, Ryan, how you came to that spot.
I mean, I think if you look at every successful person, somewhere along the way, someone helped them. Like that, no one is at the pinnacle of the profession without someone opening a door, mentoring them, helping them. I think most people, the more success they have, they forget that they once needed help. They forget that they once needed someone to open up the door, that they once reached out to a coach too that responded to them with ideas and thoughts. And, for me as a young coach, I had three people that really poured into me. Stan Jones, that was at Florida State, Kevin Sutton, that was at Montverde Academy, and David Thorpe. And, Kevin Sutton used to let me come watch we'd play him in the season. I could bring my whole team to watch his team practice. He didn't care. And then he beat the crap out of us anyways. But I wanted my high school team to look like Kevin Sutton's team at Montverde, like the way they went from drill to drill. Stan Jones, if I ever had a question, how do you attack a zone? Next thing on the fax machine back then, it would be like 30 zone sets. And I remember the people that were willing to spend time with me and help me and the people that weren't. You were always very kind to me for no reason. Like, I mean, what could I ever do for you as a high school coach? But you love the game. You love sharing the game. You love people. And I think most people forget that mentality that somebody once had to help them. And so I've tried as hard as I could to share the game, to be kind to people. Nate Oates is great about this. People don't realize this. Like, his practices are open. Anyone can come to his practice. They could be ready to practice for the Final Four. You go watch his practice. Like, he's an ultimate share with practice. And for me, like, I think people lose the sight of that, and they lose how valuable it is. And I think, Coach, you grew up in the era, right, of 5-star, right? It's like where coaches would go and share and teach and sit and talk. And now people are very guarded. Like, a lot of coaches don't really want to share. They won't give the real information. And I just don't know how we're helping the next generation of coaches. I'm only where I'm at because people helped me and people were kind to me. Now, in fairness, and you could answer this for young coaches, I think the people that were willing to help me saw that I was driven, that I would work very hard, and that I was kind to people, and that I was really passionate about helping my players. And I think people saw that and they were like, hey, I respect that. Let me help this young guy. To where if I wasn't a good person, if it was about me, if I didn't work really hard and I wasn't driven to do whatever it took to be successful, some of the people that have been successful look and say, hey man, this guy, he don't got it. He ain't going to make it because he's not driven. He's not willing to sacrifice to be where he wants to go. But people got to share the game.
Yeah, I think that. And I think I always say now when we have our Coaching You live clinic out in Vegas, NBA coaches come and they give you everything. Everything. There's no holdback. When I have college coaches, some of them act like they're developing the next rocket for Elon Musk or something, and frankly, with the use of technology now, there's no secrets. You can watch any video of any of your games now. So I don't understand it myself, but I agree with you 100%. Ryan, and the things that are focusing right now in college and pro basketball, because I know you study both European basketball, what are some of the latest trends and newer teachings that we're going to see continue and come in new in the next few years, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think obviously at the NBA level, and it's trickling down. You're seeing more and more teams just play conceptually, and to where you're seeing the principles of play, the CLA teachings from Noah LaRoche and Alex Sarama. And the interesting thing, right, is like a lot of the CLA teaching. Uh, it's why I think the European players are so much more advanced in their decision making. The European coaches have been doing this for like they've been doing this for years. Now there's just a fancy name for it. Um, but I think in the NBA, you're seeing more and more of like teaching how to play random conceptual offense, random with purpose, which my belief is like the Warriors were a big part of that, like where they would just randomly hit and play off each other. And there's a lot of concepts within that to teach as Steve Kerr took over. And then each coach I've kind of studied has had different things that they were great at and combining it. But you're seeing more and more NBA teams play and buy into that and teach it through small sided games and decision making drills and a lot of the CLA concepts, which is now, I think, going to trickle down more and more to the college game, where there's going to be more freedom instead of calling 250 sets. And I think in Europe, like they're still so far ahead in their set design and the way that they attack coverages, like the international game on attacking specific coverages, I think is at a higher level. And then the set design to create those advantages is continuously like the creativity in their sets is amazing.
Just so we're on the same, I love language, and just so we're on the same understanding with some of the high school coaches and college coaches, explain what CLA means for them.
Yeah, as you're going through CLA, right? Like you're creating different constraints in your drills to most coaches teach in block learning, right? Like it's very like we're gonna do this at this point, and compared to messy learning, and all of the science behind how the human brain learns is through messy learning, which was really interesting for me as a coach because as a high school coach, right? Like I wanted you to come in as a college coach and walk away being like, that was a perfect drill. The way that they executed it was perfectly, and when it gets messy in practice as a coach, I would walk away feeling like, man, I did a terrible job in practice. And so within the CLA approach of the small sided games of teaching players, like creating environments for them to problem solve on their own, to self organize and have self solutions. And so like the entire CLA approach is creating that environment, creating potential solutions for them and letting them solve it instead of block learn of like, we're going to go here, we're going to use this finish at this time, and teaching specific finishes. They're going to create an environment where you're organically or naturally going to utilize those concepts, those tactics. And one of the things that was interesting, like I used to love about Mike D'Antoni, right? Because it's great coach has been doing this a lot of ways. The way he came up with a lot of his pistol reads, like he told me, he's like, I'd give him some structure, like, hey, here's what we want to do out of pistol. And then I would put three guys out there and tell them, like, all right, play out of this structure, but do whatever you want. And then I'd film it. He's like, and that's how I came up with a lot of the options out of pistol. Like our players would randomly do it.
Yeah, I think I've always found the NBA, you give them a concept of how to defend something, and the players end up doing it better than what you ever imagined. They taught us when icing first went into the NBA, when they would force the ball down the side. No NBA coach knew what the hell to do. They had no freaking clue. And then all of a sudden, Chris Paul, Tony Parker, they came up with, how they would, they would come through and they would twist it, and they would come, and all of a sudden they taught us how to combat it. And I love that about NBA players. They're smarter than the student's always smarter than the teacher.
Absolutely.
100%.
And the constraints led approach is going to create an environment of that to learn. Like, I mean, think about all the different ways to attack switching. If you just like study really good players, like really high level intelligence players have the ability to self-organize, self-assess, problem solve. Like And we try to spend a lot of time with our guys on that here. Like, how do you do those three things? Because I can't call a timeout every single time. Like, you know what? A team's going to throw a random press on you. I can't call a timeout and put in a press breaker. Like, self-organize, like figure it out. And I had this lesson for me. I was so frustrated. One of my brother-in-laws owns like tons of internet companies, super successful. And as I was doing some stuff on the internet, I was always message him and be like, how do I do this? And he would respond, Google it. And I get so mad, and I'd be like, why am I going to waste 2 hours Googling this when you could tell me the answer in 30 seconds? And then a couple weeks later, I'd send him another message and be like, how do I do this? And his response would be like, Google it. And you know what? I learned how to teach myself. I learned how to self-organize, how to problem solve. And I didn't understand what he was doing for me. I'd get so angry with him. And it made me such a better coach. Like, and it had nothing to do with coaching. But it's like, I'm trying to teach my kids this. Like, how do you problem solve? Like, and that's what we got to teach our players.
So Saban and Belichick call it situational football, but really the CLA approach, self-organized, is really how to respond to different situations in basketball, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's a constraints-led approach to where you create these small-sided games and you put constraints on it. Maybe it's a dribble constraint. Maybe it's you have to, like if you're trying to teach players how to play out of a get, okay, you have to play out of a get. The defense has to go over like the on-ball defender, and the off-ball defender has to be in a drop. Great, play out of it. You're going to naturally problem solve. It can be dribble limits, can be side of the floor limits, can be coverage limits, can be coverage solutions. And you're just kind of creating the environment and letting them organically figure it out. And there's different approaches that are successful for different coaches. I've got my own philosophy, which starts with teaching solutions, then creating the environment for them to apply the solutions. Is a little bit more my personal approach, but I think more and more it's going to trickle down to college and high school.
With all the player development and with many players not playing basketball in the off season as opposed to working with trainers, coaches, I felt we've had in the last 20 years or so, maybe less, a lack of 5-on-5 play that I think is really lacking. Guys don't play 5-on-5 like they used to when we were kids and stuff. How often do you play 5-on-5 in your practices and everything?
Oh yeah, every day. So the way that we construct practice, and so like my whole coaching philosophy is like a foundation of David Thorpe onto every coach I've worked for, and like the American style and the European style. But I believe this: teach it, drill it, read it, use it, play it. So we are going to teach the skill. Let's just say we're teaching drive reads from the right wing in a 4-out 1-in spacing, player in the left dunker, right wing to the baseline. We're going to teach the skills. What are the finishing skills? We're going to teach what is the passing skill. If you're driving the right wing, what different finishes do you need? Okay, now we're going to do that against coaches where we're going to have them read. They got to drive, bump off, finish, like what Nimhard's really good at, get there. Different shot fake finishes. We're going to create that environment. Then we're going to play one-on-one with a player starting on his side. So we did it against 1-on-0, one versus coach, one-on-one live. Now they've got a they're going to take the finishes we taught them, and they're going to organically use them with an advantage against that defender. Now we're going to teach them the pass to the dunker, right? So now we're going to have a player in the dunker. We're going to have a coach on the side. We're going to have a coach guarding the player in the dunker. When they drive that baseline, he's going to step up to trap the box. He's got to work on throwing the lob, the touch that's required, the timing on it. Okay, now we're going to have them decision make. We're going to have a player in the dunker, player on the right wing, a coach guarding the player in the dunker, a coach guarding the player on the right wing. The coach will start on his side. He's going to drive, and he's got to read. Does that player step up? Yes or no? If not, now you have to use your finish. If he does step up, now you have to throw the pass. Then we're going to put player versus player. So now we're going to have a player start on the side, player guarding the player in the dunker, play it live, 2 out of 2. Then we're going to add the third player in the left corner. It's same thing. Then the fourth player on the left wing. And so the way that we do it, like we're going to teach the skills, we're going to drill the skills. Now we're going to read it against the coaches. Then we're going to use it in a small sided game. Then we're going to play it live 5-on-5. So almost every day we do 5-on-5, but almost every day we're going to do some form of like 1-on-0 to 1-on-1 to 2-on-2 to 3-on-3 to 4-on-4 to 5-on-5 to slowly build those decision-making skills. And then we've got days that are like all 5-on-5 days.
Yeah. And the challenge of going into a new program, as we talked about, with new players for you, every player is new for you. How does, we used to want to bring in players in college and develop them over 4 years. That now, it's almost like every guy, it's almost like you have this experience, a wonderful experience from the G League and from overseas, where you maybe only had a player for 1 year,
Yeah.
but that helps you. I think it's an advantage for you as far as teaching and preparing. You know how to do it quickly, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it all started in high school because, players were transferred to my high school team for their senior year to try to get a college scholarship. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Then it went to junior college. Then when I got to, I went from junior college right to overseas. Well, players are trying to take that next step. They're going here to try to get a bigger job in a year. Then I went to the D League. Everyone's it's the junior college of professional basketball. And that was kind of like always my sell in Europe, like, hey, take less money, come here, have a great year. I'm going to help you get a bigger job. And my time is then as a G League head coach, I had a different roster every single year. And, so it's a lot of my experiences have prepared me for where I'm at. And that's what young coaches got to understand. Like, I'm like everyone else. There were times in my career I would look while I'm coaching overseas, making no money. Like, I used to research, how did everyone make the NBA? What was their path? Right. So it's like, what, because I'm a big, right, in terms of like breaking down, how do people get it, reverse engineering the path? How did all these people get to the NBA? And then there were times I'd see someone get to the NBA and I would think, why him and not me? My resume's better than him. I've got more experience than them. It was such a selfish approach. And you know what I figured out when I went to Jerusalem, it really hit me, right? Because like I was in second division Germany, and then I signed with this Euro Cup team to be an assistant coach. And how many European coaches were like, what is this American coach doing? Why is this guy got the job and not me? I'm a better coach than him. My resume is better than him. And they were right. It was. And what I had to learn, and it was, every coach goes through this. You are a human being. But what I had to learn is this: you can't control when you get your break, right? Like I couldn't control. I didn't make the NBA, right? It took me 20 years to make the NBA. I could not control when I got my break. But what I could control is my path along the way and how I treated people, the way I shared the game, the way I studied the game, the way I love my players, the way I pour into my players, the investment I try to make in myself, and the investment I made in networking to put myself in position to get a break. And instead of having the approach of like, when someone got their break before me, they couldn't control that. Why would I possibly not look at that and be like, man, good for this guy. Great for him. He made it. He got his dream. And when I changed my mentality on that, it changed everything that I am as a human being. Because like I think everyone has their bitter moments of like, why him, not me? Every player goes through it, every coach. And I wouldn't be where I'm at without going through what I went through. And what I couldn't understand at the time, my path made me such a better coach, made me such a better husband, such a better father, such a better man. And it prepared me for the job that I've had. And if I would have had a different approach, maybe I'm not as prepared. Maybe I'm not as good of a coach or as good of a father or husband, and I didn't learn the lessons. Now that I've gone through it and I got lucky it worked out, and in fairness, there's the amount of coaches that that are better coaches than me, have sacrificed as much or more, have worked as hard or harder, that deserve the opportunity that I have. There's thousands. I got lucky it worked out. But I'm prepared for the job because of the path that I took. And young coaches got to understand when they're going through it, how much better it makes them.
I don't even know where to go from there, man. I'll tell you what, we probably should turn this, Zach, into like a 5-point series. I mean, we should have like, it should be like one of those things on Netflix. Okay. Ryan Pannone, 5-part series. My friend, you are absolutely incredible. And I appreciate you so much for sharing with coaches, not just in our country, in the U.S., but all over the world, because that's what we believe in, is about how can we help coaches help players and make this game better. And you're a great, great, great reason for it. And I'm so proud of you. I really am. I'm so damn proud of you.
Thank you, Coach.
Man.
The first coaching clinic I ever went to is yours, right? Down in Miami.
Yeah.
First one ever.
That
was the first coaching you clinic, first basketball clinic I'd ever been to.
Was it at Sagemont?
It was at Sagemont. I hopped in a car with a coach by the name of Alan Card, and I couldn't afford to go to the clinic. Couldn't afford to pay for the hotel. He let me ride with him, let me sleep on his floor. And I found a way. I think it was like $110 for the clinic. I found a way to come up with the money. First clinic I ever went to.
God bless him. It's amazing, but you know what? Good investment. Good investment. Hey, best of luck this season. We'll keep in close touch. And again, thank you so much for sharing, Ryan. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach.